Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing NPR, the editor of Punchline magazine. Today, I'm joined by Emma Willis, shirt maker, entrepreneur, based in Gloucester at Bearlands, and she's also my next door neighbour. Hello, Emma. Welcome to Punchline Talks.
Good morning, Mark. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you again. Obviously, we sometimes wave at each other in the car park, but that's not happening at the moment. What's it been like for you during COVID?
Well, so going back to March, end of March, when everything ground to a terrifying halt, we were all, yes, it was obviously a big shock for us all. So we all gathered together. Everyone said, we'll do everything to keep the business going, whatever, we'll go half time or whatever. But in fact, the furlough system came in, which saved us. But then we actually started making scrubs for the NHS, which kept us busy. So people were amazing. They were furloughed, but they were working absolutely flat out to make the scrubs, learning how to make them. And so that kept us all really together. And after that, then when we'd made lots of scrubs and that emergency was over, we actually, people who were furloughed also came sort of rotated to make clothes for our charity staff, the soldiers. So everybody kept going, because also, with sewing skills, you've got, like anything, you've got to keep doing it to keep, your skills up and your speed up and everything. But it was mostly keeping everyone's spirits up to be all confident that the business would continue and survive. Then the shop opened. We actually closed the shop. Obviously, we had to close the shop for a period. You'll hear some rumbling. That's my sewing machines upstairs, by the way. The shop had to close. I didn't actually open it until beginning of September, because it was completely quiet in our area of St James's in central London, a particularly sort of desolate area over that time, because people were all working from home. Anyway, we opened in September, really got going again. Fantastic. We were all so excited. I was measuring away and lots of people coming and buying. And then, so we were deeply disappointed to have to shut again. But so I'm now back in Bearland, which is no hardship, and working. We've all worked all the way through, actually. And now we're concentrating on our online selling again until we can open, hopefully on December the 2nd.
One of the things I should have said, actually, which I've got to apologise for, I did actually say what Emma Willis does, that you obviously make shirts, but you not just make any old shirts, don't you? Would you like to explain what you actually do there in Bearland and in London as well? And I know that you've had some fantastic customers, and Barrack Obama being one of them. Is it Piers? Brosnan is another. Lots of famous celebrities as well as soldiers as well. Could you just explain what is Emma Willis? What is it as a business?
Well, we're number one, we're shirt making specialists. So we make ready to wear, made to measure and full bespoke. So we're one of the last shirt shops in Jermyn Street to make everything ourselves and make here in England, and have our own factory and workroom, which everyone used to when I started in the business 30 years ago. But also one of the few shops to do bespoke shirt making, which happily there seems to be more and more of a demand for. So we also do nightwear, we do pajamas, dressing gowns, boxer shorts, and in the shop we have, and online we sell accessories, all made in England though. So we do cashmere knitwear and ties, and but yeah, a specialist in shirt making would be our. How
many people do you have actually working for Emma Willis, and what was your turnover last year, if you don't mind me asking, before COVID?
Oh, that's a very personal question. So early on in the chat, Mark. I used to not ever be able to answer that one, because I was so sort of embarrassed of my turnover. Well, we did 2 million last year, which for a small business isn't bad. And we have about 26 employees, but we're sort of pyramid upside down compared with so many companies, because everybody's making. We have 2 people in the shop selling, plus me, and then everybody else is, and then Crystal and myself, Crystal, my COO, Crystal Jones, we run the whole business. We do all the marketing, all the sort of all that side of things. I do have an assistant in London helping that with that too as well, Sholto Nicholas. And then otherwise everybody is making, so cutting, sewing, embroidering, buttonholing, packing, pressing. So the heart of the business is here in Gloucester, which is where, you know, and the skill is extraordinary. We train everybody here. So the core team is about 4 ladies who've been making for 20 or 30 years. So they train other people. Kathmia does all the training and passes on those skills to young new arrivals who come and work for us.
So the process that you would go through then of a bespoke shirt, I would imagine just like a tailor, someone comes into Bare Lands, they get measured up, and then what's the process of deciding how to make a shirt? I've got no idea.
Yeah.
I've ever made is an Airfix model, which was pretty rubbish. It was glued in and you couldn't see him through the window and the wheels didn't work, so I'm quite hopeless at sewing as well. What's the process that you go through?
Well, here I am in this is our little bespoke room at Belland House. Got the cathedral just up the road there, and so customer will arrive and we will discuss first of all what he would need his shirts for, whether he wants them for business or smart casual. He might be going on holiday and wanting some linen shirts, and then I will take all the measurements, and that involves about 12 measurements, so collar, chest, waist, front yoke, back yoke, wrist, bicep, forearm, tail length, chest, waist, hip. And then we will look at all the different collar styles. So in the room here we have, and also in London, we have all the various different collar styles, and I'll recommend on whether it depends on shape of your face, whether you want to wear the collar open or not, very details like that, cuff style, fronts. And so we give some people like a lot of guidance, some people very much know what they want. And then it's choosing fabrics. So if you're having a bespoke shirt, you have to have 4 shirts because it's very time consuming. So we do have a minimum of 4. If you're buying ready to wear or made to measure, you can have 1, whatever. So then it's looking at all the lovely fabrics, which is great fun part of it. So I buy from a fantastic mill in Switzerland, Alumo, and I bought from them for about 30 years now, and they are absolutely incredible quality and never no shrinkage. They get softer and softer. They keep their color. So we'll then look at all the different fabrics, and also at the moment we do a lot of brushed cottons and cashmere cottons as well for nice kind of smart casual wintry shirts or quite countrified look. And at the moment I must say people are buying a lot more in the smart casual area. Especially in pajamas, dressing gowns and boxer shorts. And then, so take all the measurements, the customer chooses his fabrics, and then they head home, and then they come back for a fitting about 2 weeks later, by which time we've made them a sample shirt. And I will then put that shirt, they will then try it on, and then we will analyze every detail of the shirt, how it fits, how the cut is, any adjustments that need to be made. Usually you have to do a second fitting. It's unusual to have the first fitting perfect, but it's wonderful on both sides if it is. And then we have the second fitting, and where we will do any more tweaks, and then we go ahead and make the rest of the order for the customer, which takes about another 2 weeks.
Wow. So how long does the whole process take to actually make a bespoke shirt?
To what, including the fitting and the measuring and everything, weeks wise? Yeah.
Like 2 weeks.
It's about 4 weeks realistically with a measure, the sample, and then the completion. But that's much quicker than most people. One of the things that we really do because and like to do for our customers, because we have our own production, and is we try and make bespoke quickly as well, because it's sort of associated, if you have bespoke anything, you're going to wait years for, ages for it. And we do like to do things quickly for customers, because I personally also sort of impatient to see when you bought something, it's nice to see it as soon as possible. But once you have your bespoke pattern, and in this room I have, and in our cutting room, we have hundreds of different patterns from our customers over the years, and then that's made into a paper pattern. And then if you want to reorder, you can do that online, you can do it on an email, you can ring us, and then we can just do your order again with whichever fabrics. You can choose them online again, or we'll send you a little pattern book, or you can come in and choose again. But it's quicker the second time because you've already got your pattern all sorted.
So the $64 million question is, how much is a bespoke shirt cost? I would imagine it's the material, it's the time going to go into it. So I would imagine you have a sliding scale, a ballpark.
Yeah.
What would
It's about £350. It does depend on the fabric. So they start at about 320, and they do go up to about 450 for some of the super fine Swiss cottons, like 200 fold, which is just very incredibly fine cotton. Because the fabric, it's the same as making side of it. The finer the cotton, the longer it takes to weave. Because you're dealing with such a fine yarn, you're doing basically double the work to create a meter of fabric than when you're dealing with a thicker, coarser yarn. So I mean, I have in the past tried to economize and bought cotton from other people. I could buy cotton for a lot less, but in the end, it's a false economy to me and to my customers, because the feel of this cotton is so fabulous. It's they're doing half the work for me to make somebody a beautiful shirt, and it does last much longer, and it doesn't lose its look or its luster. So it's about 350, about 350, 400. Ready to wear is 200, which we also do from here, and then there's something called stock special, which is just little tweaks that we can do, or made to measure, which is sort of halfway between the prices. But there's lots in 200 and 240. And so many people who think they might need bespoke, I encourage them to try on our ready to wear shirts, because we have a classic fit and a slim fit. And I mean, 90% of people fit beautifully into that, perhaps with just a tweak of the sleeve length or the tail length, or you might want a 15 3/4 collar but a 16 slim fit body, so we can mix and match too. So I don't push people into bespoke at all if they fit well into because they're all made in the same room with the same way, with the same lovely single needle stitching and real mother of pearl buttons. So there's no difference in the quality of a made to measure or ready to wear.
Well, I know I won't get into a slim fit, but
you would, Mark.
Well, that's very kind. That's very kind. So go into your background. When you were small, a little girl, or did you always want to be a shirt maker? Did you always, what was your journey, and how did you get to where you are now? I know we don't have too long, but where were you born? Where did you go to school? Where did you go to uni, and how did you open your first store?
Well, I was born and brought up in Hertfordshire, in North Hertfordshire. And when I was 3, I moved. My parents and family moved to a farm. They rented a farmhouse, and so I had a really lovely country childhood upbringing. And then I loved sort of arts area of life, but I didn't really know which area I wanted to go to in the arts. And I loved also the dramatic arts. I loved singing and acting, and my grandmother was an actress, and my step grandmother was an artist, and my other grandmother was a dancer. So I was very surrounded by all that side of life, which I found very inspiring. I loved it. So I didn't know whether to try and study after school art or English, as I love writing as well. So I started at UCL in London reading English. I studied that. I then actually transferred to the art school, the Slade Fine Art School, to study fine art, figurative. I loved drawing people. So I suppose now I'm sort of drawing them with my tape measure. But I actually left there after a year. I joined a band in London, and I do the singing part of it. And I wasn't working nearly hard enough at the art school, and they quite rightly asked me to leave and give up my place to a more worthwhile student. And so that was a bit of a blow, and I absolutely deserved it. And I was on the street. I had to pay my rent. So I ended up working for a company selling clothes door to door to make money to sing in my band and do the other hobbies.
What was the name of the band? Sorry,
the band.
It was
it was first of all, it's called Rum Jungle. Then it turned to then it was Dilemma, as in Dial Emma. And so it was really fun, and we played in lots of clubs and pubs and around the place in London. And I recorded a few unknown things that sort of disappeared into the great beyond, but it was great fun. I loved it.
How old were you then?
Yeah, so then I was about 20. And so actually the thing that I had to do to make the money ended up being my career. And I found that the sales wise, it wasn't what I ideally wanted to go into, but actually I found I enjoyed sales, and you had to do it, unless I sold so many shirts for this company a week, I wouldn't have paid my rent. So it drove me to work hard and think, and not be shy about it. So after about a year working for them, I came across this fantastic little tiny shirt workroom in London, and it was just 3 ladies and a cutter, and I'd used them a little bit with the company that I'd worked for, and so I actually ended up setting up my own business and took over this little workroom. I actually shared it with another shirt maker at first, and then I started, and that's how I began. So you had
3 people working for you. So you started working with these other people, and that's how. Did you call it Emma Willis straight away? That's always and what
yes.
Make?
It was always called Emma Willis Handmade. Well, it was called then Emma Willis Handmade Shirts. They weren't quite handmade, but I never got pulled up on that. It sounded nice. And it was fun. I mean, it wasn't my first dream of a career, but I did carry on with all my creative stuff as a sort of hobby. And then I actually started to be able to travel through it. I used my work to be able to travel. It was actually, I was forced into going somewhere else because we had a big recession in London, in England, which we can all relate to at the moment. And so I started to go to New York. Everyone said, there's plenty of business out there. There's not a recession. So I contacted my customers in England and said, did you have like a partner company out in New York, which many of them did, particularly the banks and things. So I went out to New York for the first time and stayed with a friend I knew and started direct selling in New York. So, I mean, the selling side of it, you really had to have quite a thick skin. It's quite, you've got to be, you can't be too proud, and you've just got to use your nose. But I did find that selling to men, I realized, and I comfort myself with the fact they're all doing what they're doing. They're making enough money to be able to buy a shirt and live their life because they're selling something. So don't be shy, Emma. They're selling something to make their money. So don't you be shy about trying to sell them something. And people were pretty helpful, I must say. Sometimes somebody kept you waiting for 2 hours and then said they couldn't see you, and you felt like punching them in the face. And and on the whole, but of course you said it was all fine. And then, but on the whole, you were just. I had a lot of people helping me I'd ask them. I'd offer 10% discount if they'd give me 10 friends who they thought might be interested in shirts. So really, I having a very creative start. I ended up sort of pretty, hardcore selling, which is really fundamental to a business, in retrospect.
But I think if you could sell, I always say to anybody, if you could sell, then you could sell anything, and it doesn't matter then what the business is like around you. You can always have a job, can't you? If you could sell.
Yeah.
And as long as there's a market there, and you've got to try and find your market. What year was this, by the way? Was it was it early 80s or?
This would be, oh gosh. So this would be like late 80s. Yeah.
I can't imagine you ever punching anyone in the face, though, Emma.
Wouldn't have been very effective, I don't think.
So you started doing this deal with 10% discount and getting more, and then did it sort of, mushroom from there? Did it grow from there?
It did, really. I mean, I got, I'd get some amazing lists. I mean, one man he was a lord himself, and he gave me 10 lords in the House of Lords. And I went off to the House of Lords, and it was actually a bit like a sort of boys prep school, because there weren't many people who were out of it. So I was hopping from one door to the other with my bag of shirts and meeting one lord after the other. I did some, and then they all, I don't know if it was that visit, but I remember one visit, they all got sort of wind of the fact that they were all buying from me. So they all decided to have a particular tartan shirt, whatever their titles were. We found the tartan that went with us. So they all, it was, you know, so there were lots of funny things. And I got on, and in Paris, when I first went there, I went to a company and I walked in and laid out all my lovely shirts, stripy shirts and things, and they all came in really casual clothes and short sleeve sort of cheesecloth shirts. And I thought, I thought I knew the French, I know the way the English British dress for business, but this is so different. And then I just was introduced to somebody just right, and then I was off with, you know, again, and then I realized there was a big there was probably quite a small section of Parisian society that actually very much liked dressing in a quite British style, with their tailoring and their shirts. So then I got on a little sort of vein of them, and off I went. So I built up a good, you know, small but loyal clientele. And I realized, and that's even on a bigger scale, we make for women as well, and we make for Net-a-Porter and Matches Fashion Women's, as well as the men's version. But in retail, you know, men tend to be very loyal buyers. You know, if they find what they like, they tend not to hop around from one place to another as us women, who perhaps are a little bit more fickle in their buying.
No, I think that's very true. I would imagine also men are very good. If they find something they like, they'll buy 2 or 3 of it, because
yes,
a lot of men find buying a shirt or buying clothes a bit of a chore, and if they could, they'd leave it to somebody else. So you are doing that for them, aren't they? I think buying an expensive shirt like yours with really good quality, it doesn't have to give you a lot of confidence if you walk in a room full of other people, you know, managing directors, senior chief executives, or the lords.
Yeah.
You're wearing the right clothes and give you, it's like a suit of armor in some ways. Do you find that people buy a shirt for that as well?
Definitely, Mark. And I learned it particularly through our charity, actually, which I know you know about and have been very supportive of. I'm realizing how important clothing was in rehabilitation too. And if for us all psychologically, it's something we take for granted, but for everybody, it is absolutely part of your content, particularly in work and career, I think, in business, because you want to be taken seriously, you want to be trusted, and it all helps it absolutely helps. So yes, I think clothing is very important for all of our confidence.
How did you find the shop? Unfortunately, you know, time goes so quickly with these sort of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find the shop in London? How did you end up in Gloucester?
Well, I live near Gloucester, so I live between Cirencester and Gloucester. And when I wanted to open up my own factory again, I'd had the little one in London, and then for a while I subcontracted. I had 3 children, and I found running production as well as doing the sales side was difficult. But so I decided to have my own factory again, and I was now living, you know, nearby. And so I put an advertisement in all the local papers, basically, and I got a fantastic response from a group of people in Gloucester. And so that was how I started. I interviewed several people, and we got a really nice little nucleus. We started with just about 6 of us on Southgate Street, right on the cross, in a lovely building there. That's
upstairs, wasn't it? Above the
yes, yes. So, but we couldn't park. None of the vehicles could park. So delivery vans with all our endless rolls of Swiss cotton, we used to have this sort of this long line from the truck to all of us all the way up. We're carrying the rolls of fabric up to the top floor. But it was a lovely building, and so yeah, I've absolutely loved, you know, developing my business here. Incredible young people as well that we've attracted. I very much wanted to highlight the importance of the machinists, of sewers, of the seamstresses in our business. It tends to always that the designers and perhaps the cutters get more appreciation, but sewing is, and you have, you know, the seamstresses are, you have 1 cutter to every 10, say, seamstresses. So we've found such talent here, and we train people from scratch. So not just being keen to learn, but not having had any experience. So that's been really rewarding. I love having my business here. We're all very happy here
I know exactly. I know exactly. Of
course you do.
And it's lovely to have you as a neighbour. Do you think the customers have changed a lot since, you know, I've talked to lots and lots of business owners, and they say the customers themselves nowadays are a little bit more difficult. Is that the truth, or perhaps you're in a different marketplace and your customers aren't? They're all lovely, or is the marketplace changed?
I mean, I don't think I've really felt that, but we do have a very, you know, we have a very close sort of one-to-one with our customers.
Yeah.
I felt that, I mean, in London with No, which is where we generate the business for the business here, predominantly, although we obviously do quite a bit online now. But in London, I felt that there was no American clients, and they've always been a very important part of our business, of all of us retailing in London. So no sort of wealthy overseas people coming at all. So we've had to rely pretty well 100% on British customers, and I have felt very much a sense of rallying. I mean, the conversation has in the shop where I've been for 6 weeks been definitely around what's going on right now. So we're all comparing, how is your business? And everybody's I find a lot of empathy for each other and their different businesses. And you know, if anybody whose business is going well, fantastic. You know, don't be shy about it. It's fantastic, because that's giving jobs and business to others as well. So I felt actually quite a sense of all rallying together, and I'm so grateful for people who are coming out and buying at the moment, and hopefully they haven't had too many things to spend their money on.
Well, that leaves you to hear my doorbell behind us, but so just ignore that. But I've got to ask you, really, because we have to wrap it up, but 3 top tips for businesses, please, Emma. What are yours? I always ask everybody I meet, what would you say your 3 top tips are?
Well, I did, my Crystal, who works very closely with me, she almost told me what my top tips were, and I completely agreed, and we were aligned. I'd say keep it simple. Keep very close to your customers, and because they're the most important thing to nurture your customers, and also know every area of your business that you possibly can. So those will be my 3 top tips, Mark.
Well, Emma, it's always lovely to see you. Thank you ever so much for being such a nice neighbour as well. Hopefully I'll see you soon and see Crystal soon. I sometimes wave to her in the car park. And
absolutely.
And I hope you guys are okay and be safe with this thing. But lovely to see you.
Thanks very much, Mark.
Thank you very much for your time, Emma. Bye.
Okay, bye.